The Frozen North, Episode 52, our top 5 PlayStation 1 games.
Hello and welcome to episode number 52 of the Frozen North Gaming Podcast. My name is JJ and I'm here with my two friends, Mark.
Howdy, y'all! I'm also here with my two friends.
Brian.
Howdy, y'all! I'm also here with my two friends.
I just want to point out I didn't laugh.
Yeah, he didn't.
You also didn't do it right, though.
You know,
just said, howdy, y'all, not rowdy, y'all!
if we play this,
Whatever you normally do.
we could go in an endless loop, because you could say, I'm here with my two friends, Mark. Mark could say, I'm here with my two friends, Brian. I could say, I'm here with my two friends, JJ, and we just keep going.
And we would all be wrong because we're all saying one name after saying my two friends.
Oh, man. Math fallacy. Woo!
It's one of those days.
Yeah.
Brian's just really struggling with math today.
Math, you know what? Basic math on Saturday mornings are...
Just the same as basic math on every other morning.
They're a little bit tougher, you know? 2 plus 2 becomes a little bit more precarious on Saturday morning.
You feel that way?
Nope.
Me neither. It's all right, Brian.
It's okay. Hey, I'm not the only one. I know there's my Saturday morning math tards out there.
There you go. I'm sure there's a couple. We are the Frozen North Gaming Podcast. We're here to talk about video games, not just any video games, story-focused video games.
What kind of video games?
Story-focused?
Oh, yeah. I gotcha.
Ones with good narratives. Something
Or-
to hook the reader in.
Or the artistic kind.
Reader,
that-
player, I guess. True enough. Absolutely. We got some good stuff on the docket today. We're still kind of on a high from our last episode 51.
Oh, man.
We talked to Ryan over the Suikoden. I almost called it Suikoden.
Oh!
Suikoden revival movement. Man, it was awesome. Just hanging out with him, getting to talk to him again about
Definitely.
just
And
the
you know what?
series as a whole.
He actually, he settled the debate over how to pronounce Joey's name.
I don't remember him doing that.
Well, we didn't ask him, but he pronounced it
He
Joey.
pronounced it. He did pronounce it Joey.
Joey?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, he did. And I actually do. I remember that.
Yeah.
If you have not gone back and listened to that, even if you're not a Suikoden fan, you will be after you listen, because
Yeah.
the guy just puts everything into perspective and really makes you take a deeper look at the series, and it's just awesome to listen to.
Yep. I'm a huge fan, and I hadn't put all the pieces together the way he had.
Right,
It really
same.
illuminated how the game works.
Absolutely. Not even just the game Suikoden 2 that we talked about. I mean, the whole series.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool. If you haven't gone and checked it out,
You
definitely
can.
go do so. Yes, absolutely. You can also email us at frozennorthpodcast@gmail.com. You can check out our website at fngaming.net, where we do have our episodes up. We got a forum. We got some reviews up there. Mark just did another one over the past week for Shadows of Mordor.
Yep.
And so go check that out for sure. And we have a Facebook at facebook.com/thefrozennorth. We have a Twitter at FNPodcast. Our blog is frozennorthpodcast.blogspot.com. And we're on iTunes, so please subscribe to and rate us there. So, what have you guys been playing?
Played some Shadow of Mordor and some Witcher 2.
Very cool.
And ran into some issues with controller support on the PC version of Witcher 2, which was kind of disappointing. But, I don't know. Seems like a good game other than that.
Well, it's you're using an Xbox controller, right?
Right.
And it's on the Xbox 360 as well, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't you think that...
You would think that, but
Okay.
you can't control the sensitivity of the joysticks. And it's like overdriven to the extreme.
I wonder if it's like that on the console.
I'm not sure. I haven't played it on that. And you also, there's no way to release the dice when you're playing the dice game. So,
Interesting.
yeah, it's kind of
Play it
weird.
on the old keyboard and sword and board, man.
Yeah, I guess.
It's good.
But that's it for me.
Cool. I've been playing World of Warcraft. Brian and I have actually been doing a little bit of endgame stuff, some raiding. Been coming out, and good time. Also, Far Cry 4.
I was about to say,
which
we were
I
just
showed you
watching.
guys. Yeah, I showed you guys before this.
Literally, Brandon had like what would you would assume is like a nerdgasm at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was it's such a just beautiful game. First of all,
we were just having a whole lot of fun. It had nothing to do with the story. It just running from rhinos.
Watching me run from one rhino, finally take it down after dying like 3 times, and then all of a sudden like 3 more show up, and they're all flipping cars in front of us and throwing trucks on top of you, and man, it's ridiculous. And that was just one small section of the game. It's cool. So honestly though, if you have played Far Cry 3, you've pretty much played Far Cry 4. So if you really liked it, I encourage you to pick it up. And if you haven't played Far Cry 3 and you're curious, you could absolutely start with Far Cry 4 because it is just a step up from it. So
you bet.
Great game though. And still Pokemon Sapphire, still blowing through there.
Sales did really well. On that game.
For sure. I'm enjoying it.
Yep.
Brian?
Continues to be a cash cow. WoW, obviously. Getting my Death Knight tanky. And then actually I'll be reviewing BioShock Infinite and its 2 story-driven expansions, Part 1 and 2, in January. So I've been playing that, and man, I played it right when it first came out, and the whole game was kind of a whirlwind, just like you play through it, and you're kind of overwhelmed by the atmosphere. Now I've just been enjoying it, and geez, man, that game is... I would say that it's not quite as atmospheric as the first time you stepped into Rapture, but still, the atmosphere in Columbia is unreal. Just every little detail you see is just a flavor, a little flavor polyp.
Flavor polyp.
You got it. But yep, those are all I've really been playing. Like I said, I'm going to be reviewing BioShock Infinite and its 2 expansions, so I want to get another replay of... I never played the expansions, but I have obviously played the main game, so just getting the replay in there. And
how far are you into the expansions
of BioShock? I haven't touched them yet.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I'm playing through the main game again, and I'm going to go back and do the 2 expansions. I want to get
I'm
a fresh...
interested to hear how the expansions fill in the story of the main game.
Read my review in January, and you will love it.
Ooh.
Sounds like a plan.
Woo!
Well, we got some news.
Oh, guys, big news. So we were just mentioning Ryan stopping by last week about Suikoden, the whole shebang. I just got done playing Suikoden 2, and now you can without shelling out a...
I played Suikoden, and you can too.
I played Suikoden 2, and you can too. But it has officially been released on the PSN. Hallelujah. They finally did it. So you may purchase it and play it on your handheld, which I wish I would have had for this last playthrough. But alas, I am glad that it is out. I actually picked it up just because it was a good enough game that I'd like to have that in my library.
I think it's kind of funny, like just such a coincidence. Like we had no idea this was happening.
Yeah, literally.
We know the SRM has been pushing for this for a long time, and this came out. We talked to Ryan about it.
Yep.
And he was like, "Yeah, we hope one day to see Suikoden 2 on the PSN. That'll be great." Like literally, like 2 days later, boom, there it is.
Yeah.
It's like we were just talking about this. Holy crap!
Right.
So that's just so cool.
And it's cheap enough now, guys. It's totally worth the price tag. I definitely highly recommend.
Well, it's what, $10 for 40 hours of
That's
game?
what I'm saying.
Right.
No, as it was, I would say go borrow it from somebody, and if you don't really know somebody, then maybe skip it until it comes out. But now go play. It's highly recommended. It's a fantastic JRPG. And does some good things. Another JRPG is getting a second remaster. This is Final Fantasy X and X-2. It's going to be coming to the PS4. I never bought the remaster on the PS3, so I actually really like this.
I'm glad I didn't buy it.
I'm actually really pumped. But I totally get frustration from people who are like, "What? I bought it on the PS3. Why are you doing this when you could be making other things?" Like for me, this is a good thing. But honestly, what do you guys think? Think this is like a really good use of Square Enix's time and resources, or
no?
Yeah, I'm
not saying it's
like
bad.
that.
I think it's great because you don't have the backwards compatibility. So if all you have is a PS4, you wouldn't have been able to play the remaster on there, which is fine. And I think for somebody in your shoes, it's great. Absolutely. For somebody in my shoes who bought the PS3, and don't get me wrong, I will still buy this because I collect all things Final Fantasy.
Right.
I feel like there's some other remakes they could be making.
Kind of, right? And then there was a troll they did in this whole line.
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
So I actually never saw it, but I was the JJ and Mark kind of told me about it. So during these announcements, they had a guy come out on stage and
This was at the PlayStation Experience.
Yes, and Final Fantasy VII was up on the screen, and apparently everybody was overjoyed because what do they think's happening? I think they're remaking it, you know what I mean, or remastering it, making it brand new flesh, updated for the next gen, and then they showed the actual video, and it's
It's the Steam port.
It's the Steam port
brought
basically.
over to the PS4.
So
Like, biggest troll in history.
Yeah.
Everybody was cheering when they saw that symbol come out. You can watch the video because it's online. Everybody's cheering, going nuts when he just walks out, and then they show the symbol in the background. People are going ballistic, and they show the video, and you see like 3 people. Oh, that's cool, I guess.
So,
okay.
I don't know. Square
come on.
Enix makes some weird.
I think it's fine that they're doing that. You know what? Bring it to the PS4. By all means, bring the port over there. But don't make a huge announcement like that over something like that.
They knew what they were doing.
Exactly what happened is exactly what I would venture to guess most people would have thought would happen.
Right.
People are just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And in a way, this is the second time they've done it because of the PlayStation 3 tech demo that they showed of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, but when they brought out the tech demo, they actually at least said it was just a tech demo. They said
Did
flat
they say
out.
it right then? I thought they said that like after the whole press conference. When people were interviewing
you might
them.
be right. But I mean, at least it was soon after.
Yeah.
They said, we have no plans to do this, just to show you what the hardware can do. This was just, I think it was just a big mistake on their part.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, my thought is that they're just using the FF7 remake as an ace in the hole. If their company ever is in danger of, going under or something like that, they're going to be like, oh, look what we've been working on. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can see
see?
it.
And they'll just bring that out then.
Yep. Well, moving on. The Witcher 3, much to my chagrin, has been delayed 3 more months to May. It was due to release, I think, February 24th, 2015. Basically, CD Projekt Red's, I'm paraphrasing here, but they said they want to make sure the game's finished. They don't want to release a game. And you know what, though? Honestly, if you want my opinion, I think the myriad of launch issues games have been having this past couple months maybe made CD Projekt Red say, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to make sure this does not happen to our game, which, honestly, I like.
That'll be a first for
Absolutely.
CD Projekt Red, though.
But, maybe they learn from their past mistakes.
True.
So, and it shows something for, because, EA keeps making the same mistake over and 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 over. But, EA is more of a bottom line, get the game out when it's due so we can make the money. And then, obviously, the big blunder, poor 343 Industries, pushing their game up. How many months did they bring it up to launch it? I can't. I think it was like 3 or 4 that they to get it launched.
Delayed it?
No, they expedited the release.
I didn't keep up with the production on that.
Yeah, they expedited. I don't know if it's 3 months or 4 months to catch some some holiday sales, and they are definitely paying for it now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fixed still to this day.
I haven't experienced any issues getting into party matches, but I haven't really tried the matchmaking. So
from what I have
know.
heard, the only issue right now is you can't play online with friends. There's no way for you to actually.
I've been able to do that just fine.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Although I haven't played it like every day, so I don't know if I caught it after a patch.
But I don't know. I like this from CD Projekt Red. I call it Blizzard-esque, where they're just like, hey, we're going to release it when it's done, so quit asking. I like that. Although
I think any sane person likes that.
Well, but not all people. I mean, some
That's
people,
why I said any sane people.
Okay,
like
gotcha. Because a lot of people were really mad about this delay. Because this means 3 more months that you don't get Witcher 3.
Either they get mad about the delay and they love the game later on, or
Correct.
they get mad that it comes out and
I
it sucks.
completely agree.
So
I would rather a game be delayed than
Yep.
I
think it was
plenty more to play.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Nintendo executive who said a broken game is forever bad, but a delayed game is eventually good?
correct.
That's a good way to put it.
Yep. Okay, moving on. North America's first Fire Emblem is now available on the Wii U Virtual Console. If you ever want to get into it's a Game Boy Advance game. And it's going to be on the Virtual Console, which is good if you want to get in the Fire Emblem series. I know that a lot of people are high. I've never actually played a Fire Emblem game, but I've heard the one for the 3DS is fantastic. And I imagine most of them
It's also a lot easier compared to this one.
Sure.
This one is one of the older ones, and it's brutally hard.
Yep. If you ever want to get into that series, though, and you own a Wii U, you may do that. So enjoy yourself. Let's see. And then this last bit of news is more or less... they talked to the Final Fantasy 15, designer. I think his name is Hijami Tabata. Hijami Tabata. I don't know exactly.
Wait, can you say it again?
Hijami Tabata. Hajimi Tabata. I don't know. Anyway, but according Hajimi Tabata.
Yeah, we get it.
Okay. Anyway, according to him, Final Fantasy 15 is actually drawing inspiration from several Final Fantasies, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So basically the NES and Super NES generation of Final Fantasies. His quoted as saying, previously I would have said Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 7 were my favorite to play. The more I look at them, the more I think, wow! JJ loves this because he's always said he wants Final Fantasy to go back to its roots. Mark's kind of in the middle. He doesn't really think one way or the other about it.
I would actually like it to go back to its roots.
Ooh! Mark, not the middle guy.
Mark, high five.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Seeing the videos of the gameplay and then hearing that, kind of, I don't feel like it really matches.
Well, from a graphical standpoint, no.
But even gameplay-wise, it's definitely not turn-based.
No.
So what is he talking about? That's kind of where I'm coming from. Like, what is he saying is inspiring him?
My guess is, because I've said this before, like, you play the newer Final Fantasies like 13 and they don't have that feeling.
Yeah.
There's just, I can't really put, I guess if I had to think about it for a long time, I probably could put it into words.
Like that instant classic feeling?
Yeah. Like your characters are all family and you like, I don't know, you just look at the game and you think to yourself, this is Final Fantasy.
Gotcha. Maybe they'll capture it.
I know what you're talking about exactly. I'm going to mention it in our top 5. But
okay.
Some games just manage to immediately have a sense of nostalgia. Normally that's something that's built over years.
Yeah.
But some games you put them in, it's like, oh my god, I'm experiencing a classic right now.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's how those older games felt, at least at the time. I mean, obviously going back now, it's like, oh, this is a great game, cool. Because, everything's been rehashed 30,000 times over.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's good potential news. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Time will tell.
Yep.
So, did you guys watch the Game Awards?
I did not.
The Game Awards on what
I thought
channel?
that was it was not a channel, it was on the internet. And
Ah.
it's basically funded out of pocket by Geoff Keighley.
Ah.
Is that how you pronounce his name?
I don't know.
I think it's Keeley.
Say it
Keighley.
Japanese. Say it in Japanese.
Geoff Keighley!
Thank you.
That's Japanese, right? Just
Apparently, he's going to be a wrestler.
He funded it out of pocket because of how bad the Spike TV awards are.
Oh, yeah.
So, I haven't seen it yet, but it's pretty exciting. I just learned about it like a few days ago.
He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I think I didn't, like I said, I didn't watch it myself, but I mean, just knowing who he is, because I follow him on Twitter, I've watched, I've been a big fan of his ever since freaking G4. He's just, in the industry, he's really somebody to look up to, for sure. So.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so we're going to do a quick segment.
Oh, yeah.
Since it's the holidays, we're going to just, each one of us is going to just tell an old holiday gaming story that we had. Mark?
Yo.
Why don't you start us off?
You want me to start off? This is going to be the worst of the 3 stories.
Aren't you excited now, folks?
So I remember the year that the Xbox 360 came out. It was actually, I think, the first year that I held a job. Got the job, have my own money finally. That's a huge experience for a gamer, I think.
Yes.
Because before that, any game you get was
a gift.
A gift, or you gathering up everything you own and selling it to the store to buy a new thing. But I'm finally earning my own money, and these videos are coming out for the Xbox 360 and all these incredible looking games, and I've pre-ordered it at GameStop. And come late November, I'm supposed to go pick it up, and it's out of stock. Completely sold out. And I'm kind of bummed. And I wait. I figure maybe a few weeks. And then mid-December, still nothing. And then Christmas Day, still nothing. And then New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve, still nothing. And I finally get it in early January. So it was a Christmas of longing, and I'm pretty sure I got some like Xbox 360 video games that I couldn't even play
You
for
just
Christmas.
got the games without the system?
Yeah,
Oh,
That
huge
sucks.
disappointment. But it is what it is.
oh man.
You never had that Christmas moment where you opened the game for the system you didn't have yet, and you were like, what?
No,
I've had that.
Yep.
Super Mario All-Stars.
Yeah, we
When
were
I got
like,
my
nice.
Super
Wait a
Nintendo,
minute.
I was like, I don't have a...
Yeah, exactly.
so that's my short story about gaming want.
And totally, I mean, you had to wait an extra month, but still not worth it. Huh.
Still, whoa, totally worth it, man. Although the launch titles, The first really cool quote-unquote next-gen game that I played was Oblivion.
Oh, nice.
Oblivion.
There you go.
It's pretty awesome.
I remember seeing the commercials for that when it first when it was in development.
Gorgeous.
Man,
Looked
Yeah.
gorgeous.
thought it was so cool, just like all the things you could interact with and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Patrick Stewart
Yep.
playing the voice of King so-and-so, Emperor
The King.
Tiberius.
King so-and-so.
No, does anybody ever remember any names from Elder Scrolls games? Come
Tiba
on.
Septum.
Other than your own name.
Esbern.
I'm editing that out.
I'm already derailing this entire segment.
Yep, absolutely. Brian, why don't you go?
Okay, my story, and I can't honestly remember which game it was. I was an excited kid, if you can imagine, back when I was a youngster. And whenever I'd get a new game, like Mark said, you didn't have money back when you were a kid, so you had to literally rely on gifts and
Yep.
some sort of like miracle to happen to get a new game. And for one Christmas, now there were two games that I remember being overly excited for, and there is actually video evidence of this. My mom took those, Christmas morning opening presents. It was either Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES or Mario Paint for the Super Nintendo. But my memory is, and my brother Kyle can attest to this, I opened the game, and whenever I opened the game, I would literally scream in my high-pitched little kid voice and go crazy, right? This particular game, and like I said, I can't remember which one.
That I can believe, 100%.
Yeah. I cannot remember which one it was, but I took the game and I was slamming it against my head, like literally headbutting the game over and
In
over
the box,
again.
right? Not the game by itself.
I open the game, I see the name, I'm like, oh my god, and I'm literally,
Good thing you didn't break it.
I'm plummeting it against. I might have. I mean, it was this bam, bam, bam. Couldn't contain the excitement of
How
that.
concerned was your mother that
That-
in
they-
your
they
bout
were-
of excitement you were beating
Maybe we
yourself?
shouldn't buy these for him
They,
anymore.
no, they were used to it. I did it all the time. Like that just particular one.
When you get really happy, you just slam your head on
See,
stuff.
video games do make people violent.
No, it's like and it's funny because Kyle still remembers. It's like I said, I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was Mario Paint. But he still remembers. Do you remember when you slammed the game against your head several times, screaming? I was like, that was kind of how I opened presents back then.
It's just my way.
Yeah, I just screamed as loud, and there is actual video evidence of it. So I hope those stay buried.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That sounds like
That's
a
your
challenge.
story? Slamming a video game?
Oh
into your
man,
head?
like and just rocketing it against my head over and over again, and I can just imagine my parents going, "Oh my god."
Oh boy. All right. Well, mine is of me kind of breaking the rules, and I know my dad has said that he's listened to a couple episodes. He has no idea what we're talking about. I hope that he doesn't listen to this one because they still have no idea that this happened. So, the first RPG that ever got me into role playing games was Final Fantasy IV. The main reason I played it was because I borrowed it from a friend of mine who I had seen playing Final Fantasy VI. Which it was 2 and 3 at the time on Super Nintendo. And I was like, man, that looks so cool. And I let him borrow Mario Paint. He let me borrow 4. Well, I got 4 eventually. Never had gotten 6, but it was always in the back of my mind. I actually was able to play it a little bit because I rented it at my cousin's house, but obviously it was at my cousin's, so I only got to play it for a couple hours and I had to go home. Well, whenever I write out my Christmas list, whenever I wrote out as a kid for my Christmas list, I would always put I would separate it out into categories. I mean, you see how I do the notes. It's that's how I am. And one of the things I would do is at the top of the list would always say big want. And I would put 2 or 3 things on there that I really wanted above all else. Final Fantasy VI was the only big want that I wanted, and it was the top of the list thing. And it said Final Fantasy III, Super Nintendo game. Back then, you can't really do it now because DVDs, Blu-rays, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, they all look very similar when they're wrapped up. But back then, you could tell what a video game was going to be. And
the
you could tell
Super
by
Nintendo
the box.
boxes and
Right.
were very So you'd always look at the presents and go, oh.
Absolutely.
My parents had to hide them in clothes boxes. In fact,
That's how I got Secret of Mana.
yeah.
actually.
In
They did that
fact,
to me.
my parents learned that we knew which ones were because we would go down. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
you're
you're
fine.
exactly right. We'd go down in the morning, me and my brothers, and we would look at the boxes and see which ones were games and kind of like, okay, stack them here. My parents learned that we knew.
Hence where I'm going with this. So, I also was one of those kids who had a habit of waking up really early on Christmas morning. Like, we're talking like 4.
I
4:30.
couldn't sleep on Christmas.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, I wake up, and I go downstairs, and I obviously see the pile of presents, and of course, I start snooping, as I did every year. As a
As you
kid,
will.
Walking around. I mean, now it's like, I'm like, crap, it's only 8 o'clock. I don't want to go back to bed.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even matter. But so I'm super excited. I'm looking around and stuff like that, and I see a box that's the right size.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, I don't know. Could this be it? Well, it happened to be in white wrapping paper.
Right.
So I held it up to the light, and I see Final Fantasy III through the wrapping paper, and I'm like, and I'm like, it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm like,
You really want
I don't want to wait. So carefully, I took the tape off the sides of the box, opened one side of it, and was actually able to slide the game out of the side of the box and the wrapping paper. Took it out and went upstairs and actually was playing it for about 2 hours in the morning. About 7 o'clock, I went back downstairs,
Put it back in.
I had my saved game and everything. Put it back in. Just put it back under the tree. Went back up to my parents' room. I was like, I'm ready to open presents now. So, like, yeah,
That's like
I know.
classic one.
And
then
like,
you open it, Final Fantasy
like,
3.
oh, so cool! I got this. I mean, I was still excited
Right.
and everything like that, and stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of,
Man,
I know, I'm a bad
you
person.
guys are rule breakers.
What? Wait.
How is he a rule
How
breaker?
am I a rule breaker? I just literally slammed it against my head. Although I did.
Okay, you're a rule breaker, JJ.
Well, no, I wholeheartedly admit that.
When I got older, my parents would leave me by myself to watch my brothers, and
and
they
you would
go,
hit your head on them?
No, and they would go shopping. Well, when it got close to Christmas time, I would scour the house for where my mom hid the presents, and I found the N64 they got us once. And this is also coincidentally how I found out Santa wasn't real, because I didn't tell her that I found them. And so, needless to say, when we went downstairs the next day and they all said Santa, and I opened it up, I kind of looked at her like, I saw this in your closet. So I confronted her about it. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to be in trouble, but how did Santa give me the N64 if it was in your closet? And she had to come up with something on the fly. She said that he was really busy and had to drop them off early.
I don't understand. Santa's not real?
Sorry to break this to you.
Jeez, Brian.
But yeah, that's how I was like, Mom, I saw this in your closet like a month ago. What is going on? So yeah, I was a rule breaker too.
Holidays are always a good time for gaming.
Yeah, especially as a kid. Man, we were some pretty excitable kids.
Faux show. All right.
Oh, hey. Are you
Whoa.
going to have, like, jingle bell sounds and stuff playing in the background of that segment?
Should
I
I?
think that would be awesome.
Do you?
I think that'd be the
I think
best.
yeah, a little low grade like bells, maybe like
Yeah, like ching, 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 ching. You can just loop that.
Now I'm not. I'm just going to loop what you guys are doing right now. Yeah. That's it. That's what we're going to do.
Ching chong chong, ching chong ching chong ching.
Cheech and Chong, Cheech and Chong.
Okay. So, moving on. We do have a top 5 this week. We didn't do it last week. But we're coming back with them. And this is one that was really tough. Really tough to do, at least for me. We are doing our top 5 PlayStation 1 games. So, let's talk honorable mentions first.
My honorable mentions are Mega Man Legends, Wild Arms, Breath of Fire 3, and Breath of Fire 4.
Did you play all those?
Yes.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
I never
I didn't say I
knew you-
beat them.
Well, no, but I never even thought you had ever played any Breath of Fire games.
Yeah.
Wow, no joke. Did you beat any of them?
Hold on, let me look at the list here. Nope.
Wow. Not even Wild Arms?
No, I got to the Demon Lab.
Oh, that's pretty far. Yeah.
Something happened.
That's a good game.
There's always some point where I would just hit a wall and lose interest.
Yeah. Probably the graphics made you want to...
No,
Wipe
like
your
like
eyes
a challenge jump or something, or like I'd idiotically gone too far without leveling up.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, difficulty spike. I've got honorable mentions. I've got the Twisted Metal series, the Legacy of Kain series, Blood Omen. Man, that game was incredible.
Those were so fun.
Tenchu, Stealth Assassins. If anybody tried those were the first stealth games that I ever played. Loved them. And the Grandia series.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Honorable mentions for me: Twisted Metal, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 3, and that's really it.
Not 2?
I have 2 on my top.
Oh. Yeah, well, in that case, Lunar 2.
Gotcha.
Also, I would say.
No.
Touche.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Who wants to start us off?
I guess I will.
All right. May as well.
Resident Evil 2.
Brian's number 5.
Comes in at number 5. I liked it a lot better than the first game. It was a lot more polished. I thought. I mean, don't get me wrong. The first game, I still remember sitting up in good old Mike Moore's room, watching him play the first one in that first scene where the zombie takes a bite down. But anyway, I digress. Resident Evil 2 with the G virus as opposed to the T virus was just a man. You guys played 2, right? You guys just remember the atmosphere of that game? Playing
not.
It? You've not played 2. Okay.
I've not played. Well, I played about 5 minutes of 1.
Yeah.
Me too.
2.
Not because I didn't like it. It was a buddy's of mine, and he had to leave.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Instead of having you got Leon and you got Miss Redfield. They show up in this town that's been ravaged by Umbrella Corporation, as we all know them and love them, by a new strain of the virus. Instead of the T virus, it's now the G virus. Zombies ensue, and a fantastic story actually follows one of intrigue and mystery that you solve at the end, and confront the big bad boss at the end, the scientist who came up with this. It's just such a fantastic series, the Resident Evil series. Capcom's flagship series, I think.
You think so?
Oh yeah, in my opinion, that's who I remember Capcom.
I could see that. Yeah, for sure.
But,
yeah, probably right. A lot of people feel that way.
Resident Evil 2 is definitely on my top 5 PS1 games.
Cool, excellent,
nice.
My number 5 is Lunar, the Silver Star Story Complete. It's actually a remake of Lunar from, I believe it was Sega CD or Sega Saturn. Mm-hmm. An old Sega game, either way.
Yeah.
Either way, I never played it in its original form, but when I saw that it came out, and plus it was working design, so I had to get that big box because you get all that swag in there, and it is the definition of an adventure in my mind. Like you don't get much more cut and dry than this game. You're going through, you're fighting dragons, getting equipment and weapons, getting close to your friends, and trying to take down the bad guy at the end, and it's all for love. It's just a great story, really, really fun, and wonderful, wonderful little game. Can't recommend it enough, especially if you can get the whole package, because you get a lot of cool stuff in there. Lunar, the Silver Star Story Complete.
Solid choice.
Thanks, bro.
Actually, I've played about 10 hours of it.
Yeah? What'd you think?
And I liked it a lot, but I was borrowing it, so I didn't really have the chance to complete the game.
It's charming.
It really is.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Suikoden 1.
Hey,
are you guys shocked?
No.
Nope.
Surprised to see it on the list?
Nope.
It's a great game.
This is a game I had to rent. Renting for me and my family was always, me and my brother going to Hastings, finding a game together. This was a game that he said, that looks stupid, don't rent that. It was the first time that I kind of went against
box art?
Exactly. And I finally went against my brother's advice, which is very rare for me to do. But I went against it, and I rented it, and it was just incredible. One of the best games. We've reviewed it, so I don't have to say much, but it's the best.
It is. It's a great game.
It's the 5th best.
And if you don't agree, then you're wrong. Brian, what's your number 4?
Number 4 for Brian is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Great game.
Oh, man. One of the, I would say, forerunners of the Metroidvania series, or series of games. I just love the beginning of that game, where you are one character. I don't want to ruin anything, but you are one character.
Wait, you're a character in this game?
But you go all the way to the end, and then something happens, and then you're not, and then you start the game basically, and you're like, whoa.
Well, if you do it a certain way.
Correct. And then the character's name. Does everybody know what its reverse of is?
I do.
Yay! So you play as Alucard.
Alucard.
Yeah, Dracula.
There you go.
Correct. And I don't know, just it's just like Metroid, where it's a kind of an open. I'd say it's an open world side scroller where you can go wherever you want. It's a side scroller, but you don't have a set path. You can kind of go up, down, left, right.
Metroidvania.
Yeah, pretty much. And you go and you collect items that get you further, and you fight bosses, and just the atmosphere of the game and the music. It really was a symphony of the night.
It's a great, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean that's PlayStation 1, and that was when I was coming out of not really being a big fan of side scrollers, and I still love the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that speaks volumes as to how good it was. For sure.
You betcha.
My number 4 is Star Ocean: The Second Story. It is Star Ocean 2. I freaking love this game. I've talked about it before on the show a couple of times, and there's just so much that happens, so much that goes on. I mean, you're talking like going to another planet. You've got 2 different stories to choose from because you can pick your main character. Each one has different events that are going to occur. You've got characters that you can choose to recruit and not to recruit. There's just so many different branches in the game, and it's just a really fun, clever, cute little JRPG for the PS2 or PS1. Sorry. It's got some difficulty spikes in there that are kind of but honestly, it's really easy to grind in the game as well. I really like the battle system because it's got that like Tales series action RPG where you pop into a battle screen, but you control your character and everybody, all your NPCs are running around casting spells and fighting and stuff. And Matt was actually the one that introduced me to this one, got me onto the Star Ocean series, and I mean to this day I want to go back eventually and play through Rena's game because I played as Claude. And it's just a really, really fun game, and I highly recommend it. Star Ocean: The Second Story.
Yeah.
Nice. My number 4 is Chrono Cross.
Yeah.
Man.
I have that on my...
Came out in 1999.
9999?
2 years after Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
But the graphics, holy crap. The graphics were so much better than Final Fantasy VII. The game was probably the first game that really kind of awakened in me what games can do in terms of atmosphere. The music is
definitely
incredible, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but at the time I thought it sounded like real live recorded music. Even though, I mean, by today's standards, it doesn't. But for that time, it was such a jump in quality of recording. Audio quality.
If you want to hear some cool music from there, it's the theme song from the when you go into the other world.
Mm-hmm.
Another World is what it's called.
Yeah.
The name of the song is, I believe, A Dream Across the Shore or something like that.
I think that sounds right.
And it's it's so gorgeous. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So can't recommend the soundtrack enough. Absolutely, Mark's right.
I can't say much about the plot because it's
complex.
very twisty.
Complex.
Yeah,
There are lots of revelations.
Right, but you can say, because you find out really early on what it's about.
I mean, I guess the basic plot of if there's a parallel world where there's one slight difference,
Right.
how much the ripple effect of that would be.
Exactly. Yeah, basically the main character in one world, he's alive, and in the other world, he's not.
Yeah.
And you kind of go back and forth between the two, seeing what happens in certain areas, what happens with certain characters, and it's cool.
And it was a really cool combination of what fate is and kind of how causality works.
Mm-hmm.
Made you think. For a game at that time, that was pretty impressive.
And while it's not necessarily a direct sequel to Chrono Trigger, there are quite a few references in there if you look for them. So, which I thought was cool.
So that's my number 4.
Solid pick.
Impressive.
Brian, number 3, sir.
My number 3 is The Legend of Dragoon. Something you should know about me is I never played Final Fantasy VII on the PS1, so it will not be on my list if you're looking for it. I played it years later and actually watched my brother play it on the PC when it was actually launched on Windows programs. That's when we first got our hands on it. Now, years later, I did play it on the PS1 and beat it, but the first time I ever had exposure to it. So that's beside the point. The Legend of Dragoon was my Final Fantasy VII. That game was it got lukewarm reviews when it came out, but to me, man, just getting those dragon suits on and doing those really sweet moves, and it was one of the first games that actually did the in-game cutscenes within the battle system. So you ever notice that in Final Fantasy VII you had the cutscenes with like the little tiny four squared, very bad rendered characters. But in the battle system, Cloud looked tall and had a lot of pixels. And
Right.
Well, in Legend of Dragoon, the one thing that sucked me in was at the end of like a big boss battle, they'd have a little cutscene with those characters. So, like in the world map and running around the world and exploring, you were that little sprite, not sprite, but that little, I'd say low res pixelated character, but you wouldn't really get much story. But then in these battles, you'd actually have those actually rendered characters talking and interacting, and it was just so like immersive. Especially when they're in their dragon suits with their wings on. But that game will forever be one of my favorite PS1 games.
So can't believe you like Albert better than Levitz.
Yeah, well, he's a prince.
Ridiculous. Nobody likes princes. It's all about the captain of the guards, man.
No, Captain of the Guards was designed to just protect the prince, man.
Yeah, which means he's more awesomer.
Brian's wrong.
Thank you, Mark.
Brian not wrong. Brian correctly.
Oh, man. All right. Brian's number 3, Legend of Dragoon. Great game, by the way. And that's on PSN as well for pretty cheap, if I recall.
Absolutely. I own it.
My number 3 is Suikoden 2. Woo! But it shows up a little bit later down on somebody else's list, so we will talk about it then.
Right on.
Mark, number 3.
My number 3 is Final Fantasy VII, but it shows up later on someone else's list.
Not mine.
So we'll talk about it then.
Number 2?
Number 2.
My number 2 is a Final Fantasy game, but it is Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII. Loved it.
Reactions from the crowd?
Loved it. First of all, if you didn't like Final Fantasy VIII, you really only didn't like two things about it. Number one, the draw system, which I admit was not a very good way of going about magic. Mm-hmm. And number two, some of the weird plot decisions they made. But honestly, if you really can't tell me that it wasn't, number one, a beautiful game. Number two, other than the draw system, the battling was amazing. The summons were amazing.
There was one other thing that I didn't like about it. Boosting.
Yeah, I guess you could boost. The monsters did level up with you. So
I had turbo controllers, so it was easy. But if you weren't using a turbo controller, your thumb would kill you after using a summon.
Trying to summon, yeah, that's true. But overall, I loved the game. It was very Final Fantasy-esque. You know what I mean? You felt,
Yep.
One thing
it's what Final Fantasy has become. It's kind of gone in that Final Fantasy VIII direction. I would say there's other games from the PlayStation generation that are more classic Final Fantasy. But I digress.
Well, what I mean by that is what a Final Fantasy game to me is it starts pretty narrow. You're just a good old seed in one of the gardens, and all you're really, Galbadia Gardens being a jerk, so you're kind of, and then the plot opens up a little bit, and then you have this little bit bigger layer going on, like, oh, okay, there's some undertones, and then basically, by the end of the game, it's just like this huge, like, plot. It's like, oh no, in this particular case, a time witch was compressing time to make the past and the present all fit in the same space. And
yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about like people who don't like the game. Typically, they have the exact same complaints, and it's like those one or two things. I agree wholeheartedly. I love the game, but those would be my complaints as well.
Right.
I thought the draw system was a little bit it was too much work.
Yeah.
There really wasn't. I mean, because I used these spells to essentially make my characters more powerful.
Yeah, they were stat boosters. Yep.
I never used them in battle.
Right.
So there was really no. I was just physically attacked, and I used summons. That was it.
There was never an incentive to use spells. You're right.
Right. But I mean, just because I loved 7 so much, seeing the upgrade in graphics and cutscenes and the battling and everything like that, it really, I thought it was a step up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do I still like 7 better? Absolutely. But I don't think 8 gets the credit it deserves.
Yeah, 8 was
a lot of times.
8 was my kind of like first foray into like really. I think that was honestly 8. I think was the first Final Fantasy game I ever beat, like from start to finish. I played other ones before then, but I don't think I'd ever sat down and actually beat it. So 8 was my like first. That was my seal breaking of Final Fantasy beatage.
Solid choice.
Yeah.
All right. What was that? Number 2?
Yes.
Yes. So my number 2 is the same as Mark's number 3, Final Fantasy VII.
Hey, what a great game!
What a great game indeed. I mean, we've talked about this on the show 1,000 times over. This was I mean, even if you weren't an RPG fan, you saw the commercials for this when it came out, and you were blown away.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You saw it on TV, and you were like, "What is going on? What is this game?" And everybody wanted into it. Like, I had, I mean, I'm an only child, but I have tons of cousins, and my cousins were going ballistic over this thing, and I was the only one that I knew of that even liked RPGs in my family.
Yep.
So the fact that they were like, "Dude, have you seen this new one that's coming out?" And I'm like, "Which one?" They're like, "Final Fantasy VII." And I was like, well, "Yeah, I've been playing the older ones for a couple of years now. It's awesome. I can't wait." They were like, "Yeah, graphics look cool." Blah blah blah. I was like, "You just wait till you play the game, buddy, because it's awesome." The materia system, I think, is still one of the best.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Best customizable, making each character, your own systems out there to this day. I really wish there were other things like it. There's a couple of things that come close, but I really think this one just does it amazingly well. Translation, yes, you could argue isn't that great, but I love the story. I love the characters.
Yeah, I didn't notice any problems with the translation. Personally, I mean...
This guy are sick?
Okay, there were a few.
But, I mean, just, man, nostalgia and the impact that it made and the fact that it's probably one of the most influential games in history, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
I mean, it turned people on to RPGs that weren't RPG fans beforehand.
Yeah. It was kind of like the blockbuster moment for gaming, in a way.
That's a good way to describe it.
Agreed.
And, I mean, I didn't beat the game until... this year?
I think it was this year. Yeah.
This year, but I had played it. It was, I think, the first game we got for the PlayStation. Actually, I don't think we had it, but we borrowed it from a friend on the block, which was the thing to do back then. And it captured my imagination. It was incredible. The stuff that you could see on that screen, wow.
Absolutely.
Wow, indeed.
Yep. To this day, I still go back to it, I'd say at least once a year. And I mean, I don't play it all the way through, but I'll play a little bit just to get my fix. And I'm regardless of how they presented it and the fact that it's going to cost like $17, I will still buy it for the PS4. And if they have achievements, I'll probably play it all the way through again. It's a great game that means a lot to me. It's a really, 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 really great memories and just a phenomenal experience.
Yep.
Mark, number 2.
Final Fantasy IX is my number 2. And it kind of goes back to what I interrupted and derailed Brian's segment for, or his number 3 for. This was kind of a pivotal moment for Square, in my opinion, because they had done Final Fantasy VII, a huge jump forward in graphics. And then they had done Final Fantasy VIII, another logical step forward, making the graphics a little bit more high-res, going further down the realism path. And then they follow up with Final Fantasy IX, which throws realism out the window, and goes for something totally stylistic. It's a throwback to the older games in the series. It's got a lot less melodrama, and it's more high fantasy. This was a Final Fantasy fan's Final Fantasy game, in my opinion.
I agree. One of the reasons I loved it so much is it was very similar to 6. Not just in like personality and characters and that kind of stuff, but also like the technical stuff, the way you gain abilities.
Yep.
In 6, you equip espers, which teaches you magic through battle. In this one, you equip equipment, which teaches you abilities through battle. It's very, very similar, and it had a lot of the old school feel to it.
Definitely.
That game, like Brian said about 8, like you said, this game feels Final Fantasy. 9 feels old school Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I've been saying this for, the past couple of years. Like, I would love to see them do what they did with 9. Like, they took a different direction with 7 and 8. And then they went back to their roots with 9, and I would love to see them do that again. Mm-hmm. Not that 7 and 8 were bad. I'm not discounting them at all. But just to see them go back to their roots like that. And you know what? That's one of the reasons the news we talked about before, that Tabata's look into those older games for influence is really encouraging.
Yeah.
So
That's true. Yeah.
we'll see.
And I was looking, and the release date for Final Fantasy VIII was 1999. That's the same year that Chrono Cross came out. But I feel like Chrono Cross and Final Fantasy IX are much more in the same category, and 7 and 8 are in a separate category as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just more drawn to that first category, the Final Fantasy IX, the Chrono Cross, the really high fantasy.
It brings the fantasy back.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
Which is why, the first games were such a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's my number 2.
All right. Brian, what's your number 1, sir?
My number 1, and quite frankly, I don't know why it wasn't on any of your lists.
Never played it.
Oh, we're okay. That makes perfect sense. This game is Metal Gear Solid. In my opinion, this game was basically the peak of PS1. This was like at the mountaintop, like kind of like The Last of Us did with PS3. Like, whoa, this is what this system can do. I cannot believe that this system can pump this kind of game out. Not only so we're talking about the Final Fantasy games, which were gorgeous. They were. But they used what we call pre-rendered backgrounds, where to save a little bit of memory and a little bit of pixelation, they would it's like a painted background with movable sprites on it, right? Metal Gear Solid looked good, and it was a fully 3D environment. There were no pre-rendered backgrounds. It was all, I call it was all real time, and it was voice acted, which that was just now starting to become big as we had the capabilities. Like, none of the Final Fantasy games were voice acted. I don't remember many other PS1 games being fully fleshed out voice acted. Every cutscene, and we know that Hideo Kojima's all about cutscenes. But gosh, I mean, I know that people will say, if you go back and look, the faces didn't have definition and there were no mouths moving or anything, but I remember specifically my friend had a PS1. I didn't actually own a PS1. I was an N64 kid. But my friend had a PS1. And after school, after junior high, I think 8th grade, we'd go over to his house and he would fall asleep and take a nap, and I would play and beat Metal Gear Solid 1 in that afternoon. Like, it wasn't a very long game. You could beat it in a couple hours, about 3 or 4. But I just remember he would I'd say, hey, you have Metal Gear Solid? Can I play it? It's like, yeah, come over. We'll play. I'll watch you. I remember doing that like 3 times. Just going over to his house, beating it. It was just such an addicting game. The story was, all the bosses were so fleshed out and so, and the ending with Gray Fox, just, I can't talk enough about how good Metal Gear Solid was back then. It was literally the pinnacle of that system. It was the mountaintop.
I would imagine you're probably not the only one that feels that way. Yeah. So, cool. Brian's number 1, Metal Gear Solid.
MGS on an oil rig.
My number 1 is Xenogears. Now, I want to clarify a little bit. Do I think this is the best game on the PS1? No. I think Final Fantasy VII is a better game. I think Suikoden 2 is a better game, honestly. The main reason it's up there for me is coming from strictly a point of nostalgia and what this game did for me. Basically, I had never seen a game before this with such complexity in its story. There's so many different paths and so many different branches and so many different
facets.
Yeah, absolutely. That seem to all come together. And some people tell you they don't fit very well together. I always thought they did. I absolutely loved it. Disc 2 is obviously pretty sketchy, but the fact that it was something so new and so out there really, really hit me like a ton of bricks. And the fact that I cannot stand mechs. I do not like mech anime. I don't like the movies or, any of that stuff. I think it's boring and I think it's dumb. This game made me absolutely love the mechs in the game. And I think anything that can turn something you can't stand into something you love obviously deserves some sort of notoriety.
That's true.
It's, the fact that it was able to do that for me, just, I still to this day absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So, and it's my second favorite game of all time. So notice I didn't put like Final Fantasy Anthology on there, which has Final Fantasy VI on it, because that's not really
doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly. This game just really, really means a lot to me, and that's why it's on there. So I think Mark, you should play it. I think you'd get a kick out of it.
Yeah, I'll play it when there's not a time crunch.
I'm just saying, eventually.
Yeah.
So maybe you can play it when he plays Xenoblade.
Yes.
There we go.
We'll play a lot of Xeno.
That game is long.
Yeah.
So, well, both of them are. But, so yeah, that's my number 1, Xenogears.
Yeah. Solid list, guys.
Nice.
Mark?
My number 1 is JJ's number 3.
Yep.
Suikoden 2.
It is.
Man. We didn't just review this last week, did we? We've talked a lot about Suikoden lately.
We have. There's not much really else we can say.
I mean,
That's what we're going to do.
It's tragic. Plays with fate. There's 108 characters.
Too many.
You get to take over a castle, and you get to be in charge of the castle.
As a 15-year-old.
It's pretty awesome.
It is. It really, I mean, Brian, after beating it, would you say it is kind of Game of Thrones, the video game?
Yeah. Oh, with the Japanese flair for sure.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones doesn't have, the
It felt very
talking sword.
it felt very feudal Japanese. Be honest with you, like I liked feudal Japanese. The history of it, where city states warred, and they had, it was kind of cutthroat back then.
Yeah.
It felt very like, hey, feudal Japanese. Here comes the Highland Army to come just take. They just want to kill us because, we're not the Highland Army. So,
I saw a tweet last week that I think kind of sums up why the game's amazing. Suikoden 2, the only game where you have a unicorn in your party.
touche.
That's why it's amazing.
No, but
I was gonna
because
say.
you have so many freaking characters, you can really have whatever you like in your party.
I mean, yeah, I think Ryan said it best when he was talking about, when he was kind of talking to Brian about how many characters there are and stuff. It's a good way to make sure that everybody who's playing can find somebody in there to relate to.
Yep.
Which is the mark of a great game. If you can find somebody to relate to, and this game gives you plenty of chances to do that. Do you have to beat the game with all 108 characters? No.
Nope.
Obviously not.
But if you want to,
man, it's totally worth it. So, good stuff. Can't recommend that game enough. Buy it on PSN. When you do buy it, make sure to rate it too, because we're still trying to make sure that Sony and Konami see how much this series means to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's finally. I mean, it's been a long time coming, but I think it's finally starting to see some of the attention that it deserves. So, cool. Well, there we have it. Our top 5 PS1 games.
That's a tough list.
It was a
Yeah,
tough
it
list.
was.
That's a really good generation.
Yep.
Yeah, it really was.
It hit us in the sweet spot too when we were kids.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Well, I don't have anything else. Do you guys have anything else for this week?
Nope.
I just want to say that I don't have anything else.
All right. Well,
And if you don't fade it out right there, I will ask, are we doing a Game of the Year episode coming up next time?
I definitely think so.
I believe last year, didn't we wait?
Yes, you're
like-
right. We did wait a
like
little
a
bit,
month out?
so we had time to play.
Yeah,
catch up.
we might do like what we're looking forward to next year or something like
Gotcha.
that, because there's a lot
Oh, yeah.
coming in
Oh.
2015.
Oh, yeah.
The early part of 2015 too is just chock full of good.
It is going to be insane.
It's gonna be.
Brian's just going to put The Witcher 3 on all 5 of his
You
slots.
bet. Number 1 is the Wi. Number 2 is the It. Number 3 is the Sure. Number 2 is
Yep.
the.
This is the
Fuck.
hard-hitting
Number 1 is Or.
coverage we need.
Right. Well, with that, this is the Frozen North signing off. We would like to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and we will for sure be back with you in another 2 weeks. With that, my name is JJ.
My name is Mark.
And my name is Brian.
Thanks again for listening, and as always, keep on gaming.
Our theme song was made available through the Creative Commons Attribution license by Ziphoid. The song title is Radical Fanfare.